Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Welcome back. Welcome to my name is Joe Josh. I go by iChart Daily, and in today's video, which is November 8th, 2025, I'm going to be giving you a window to my thought process on what I think is playing out with Bitcoin on the mid to longer time frames. Not my opinion, I'm just giving you an interpretation of the chart. A chart that I have been charting for 10 years. I've been buying and charting crypto for multiple halvenings. I say it in every video. I form thick skin to the nonsense, meaning people's opinions. And I've been doing technical analysis for 17 years. I was taught this process by my father, who was an options trader for almost 30 years. And I saw crypto, witnessed crypto, and then took the internet and fine-tune my process. And it's been history ever since. So the goal of these videos, right? You're not going to get news from me. If you know, I always tell people, not financial advice, but I always have two bags, right? I got bags that I have projects because of the news, right? Just to throw it out there, like XRP, just in case, or Link, or these other ones, if ISO and Swift, and once again, news matters. But then I have a large portion of my portfolio in a trading bag where, the best advice I could give you is I don't even look at the ticker. Because if you look at the ticker, it messes with your emotions, right? Meaning, if the chart and the indicators are showing you bearish structures, patterns, but you're like, but bro, there's a new mainnet launching in 2 weeks. It's like, your opinion doesn't matter. What are the charts saying, right? Give me a hoo-yah in the comment section if I've been saying for the longest time that if this death crosses and if this symmetrical triangle breaks down and the stochastic is showing once again, it's like so black and white, so cut and dry, right? So let's go into what I'm seeing. First things first, if you're new here, there's a couple rules that I follow. Once again, just helps. One of the rules is long-term trends predict short-term outcomes. You can't trade with a monthly chart because a lot happens within 22 days and 6 hours, ups, downs, left and rights, but it gives you an overall momentum, right? And another rule that I follow is trend lines follow trend indicators. The trend indicator is the MACD. And since June 2023, the monthly indicator MACD has been in an uptrend, bullish structure. Volume coming down each potential death cross, but now officially we've printed our first red candle. What does that mean? Well, your trend line that was going up, excuse my voice, my children are in playoff football, so you know how I am on the sidelines. So the rising wedge trend line is breaking down, okay? The first thing that I notice is obviously major support at like 80,000. I don't think we go there right away. I do think we stop right at the top of these liquidity zones right here like we are now. You could see us stopping at 101 to potentially like that 97, 98,000. But because the MACD is going down, that's showing me that we could stay somewhat flat, meaning not breaking the 125 to potentially even the 116, fueling more bearish divergence. Now, why do I think that's happening? Well, I've been saying for the longest time that this RSI is making lower highs and making higher lows. And we were going to set an alert at the 61.50, 61.43, notifying us that poo-poo's hitting the fan. A symmetrical triangle, right? Lower highs, higher lows, has a measured move. I usually teach my community to take the middle of the flag because I always want my plays to hit. I don't want to say it goes from 115 to 130 and it goes to 129. So the measured move, let's just say, is from here back to the 50. Not the worst case scenario, meaning we can still have recovery after that, but we've broken down and we shouldn't expect stoppage at the 61. What we're looking for right now is maybe a stop, right? Everything happens in waves. This is the end of the run. So it's not to say that we break down, we come back up and retest, and another lower low here, but eventually the measured move is closer to the 50, right? So that's why I'm expecting more blood over the next couple of months, right? But for the short term, we'll get into it. Now I zoom into, well, secondly, the 3-week, the 2-week, and the 1-week all broke down. The next major thing that I'm looking at and setting an alert at to show me if this is where we stop. Do we stop at this 99 to 100,000, or is it officially over in your mentality? Not my opinion. I'll show you the charts and what happens thereafter. But if this breaks this beautiful fake purple line on the weekly chart, as you can see, once again, was support, support, support. If we break this level right here, it's over. We officially enter way more blood, more rejection, etc., etc. Now, the next, what do we have? 1 day, 5 hours to see the next candle printing. And we are having a short-term bottom form, and I'll explain even further. Now, the next thing that I would like to do is set an alert once again at the bottom of this little wick here at the 42.35, notifying me poo-poo's hitting the fan. We are not just dipping our toe into section B, and this is just a fake out, right? No, we're entering section B and we are officially in the water. So we haven't broken yet, and there are certain rules. Nothing changes if nothing changes. Have we broken this level? No, we cannot go bearish until that has happened. Now, this is not the best case scenario because regardless of who you are, where you are, and what you are, we're making lower highs each time, right? All I'm doing is I'm looking at waves. I want to see, is there room to grow from this wave to resistance? Is there room to bleed from this resistance back to this wave support system? That's all I'm looking to do, cuzzies, right? And figure out if we have, once again, this is a weekly chart, weeks of, maybe 1 or 2 weeks of a bottom forming, right? This was from March 3rd to March 31st. This was from July 1st to September, right? This was from August 7th to September 11th, right? So we have, once again, we just dipped. I need to see one more candle possibly print, and I'll explain what happens on the daily time frames and why I do think potentially this is a short-term bottom. And then we need to see, once again, there's room to grow, right? I'm curious to know if we're expecting another lower high, right? Maybe around this level here, and this level here, and this level here, right? So I line up where in the imaginary space that hasn't happened yet, where in the past has it stopped in the past. Like I'm trying to be like a cop, seeing if someone's being a robber, right? Are they gonna rob right now? Well, they robbed in the past, they robbed in the past, and they robbed in the past. So if they do this right here, yeah, cuzzy, that's where I might be taking more profit off the table if Bitcoin hits certain prices and the RSI is here and the MACD and yada yada yada, right? So alert here. I would also set an alert at the 49.41, letting you know that you're out of this little bounce area, right? Because once again, not my opinion. Look what happened to price action here, price action here, price action here. Let's double click. All right, price action here. We went from 26 up to, let's just say 45. Price action here. We officially bottomed out of this. It went from 60 to 104. Right here, we finally bottomed and went from 86 to 121. So, are we going to bottom and head back up? I do think we bottom and head back up, but I think we have a hard time breaking the 125. Psychologically, this is just me thinking to myself right here. This looks bad. Okay, when the monthly looks bad and the 2-month looks bad, people are going to start opening up shorts, right? So I would like to see maybe one more pop up to like the 125, 126, liquidate all the shorts, and then you have major blood thereafter, right? So now we're seeing support there. Let's go into some price action. Right, and this is how I could call certain things, because I said if we break the 107, 108, we're heading right down to the 100,000. I was lining that up with certain things playing out in the chart, and that's how you could literally call things. And I didn't mention tariffs or Fed's rates or Venezuela All I said was if this breaks and the chart continues to break down on the monthly, we're going to 103. The same way, if we ever were to break this 97,952, we're going right to 81,000. And when do I think that potentially happens? This 2-month chart looks like absolute poop, bro. Like legit, we're breaking down, not to off track, but like you have to see this, right? This is where you're going the most parabolic, above the 80, 70 on the RSI, especially when you're above the 80 on the stochastic. Momentum is on your side, right? You could see here momentum coming down, momentum coming down. We are breaking the 70 line and the moving average, showing me the RSI is always the first one out of the three. Usually it's the stochastic, but right now it's that RSI. We're going to bleed over the next 1 month, 24 days. And we're eventually going to death cross on this in the next 2 to 4 months. I think by February, March 2026, around tax season. And one of the main variables that could speed this up is if the government stays shut down, the feds don't get job reports. If they don't get job reports, which is one of the main variables of them factoring whether they keep rates the same, lower rates, or raise rates, they might keep rates the same, and everyone's expecting lower rates. Now, remember the last time they lowered rates, the markets did nothing, and we actually fell from 107 to 100,000. That's not usually the trend, right? So if usually the trend is rates come down, markets like that, something else is happening. So if feds keep rates the same and the market came down when they lower rates and now it's a worse situation with them keeping it the same, I think that could be a catalyst in December to really tip us down. So now we've stopped at major support, right? Major support levels, these liquidity zones right here of the 90 to the 101 were extremely oversold. Another thing that I use as a visual is where are the moving averages, right? Another thing is once you break the moving averages, these are 11 and 21, you usually have a dead cat bounce back to the moving average, and we haven't had that yet. We're right now at this 101 level, 102 level, and we could definitely have a dead cat bounce back to the support system of, excuse me, turn this off. I would see us going back to this level here, which was support, the 107, 108 level, because what was support will turn into resistance in a continuation pattern to the downside. What was resistance, right? This was resistance here. Bang, we came down and used it as support in a continuation pattern to the upside. Now, as I zoom in, right, let's go back to that weekly line. Right? You always use weekly and longer time frame support lines and trend lines, and then you zoom in, right? Boom, look at that. I was telling my boys, like, yo, I think the uptrend stops here. Now, I do see resistance. I do see support. This looks like a falling wedge. The falling wedge, it hasn't broken out yet, meaning it hasn't broken this top green line. I do think we could potentially come back up. Once again, back to this level right here. What was support will turn back into resistance. What am I doing? My mom took Tylenol when she was pregnant, so excuse me. I think we could pop back up right here. Then what we would like to see is a higher macro low using like this 103, this wick right here, as support again. So we use the 98 to the 100, we come up, we come back down, and then we form a nice little W pattern. Something like this, 1, 2, 3, and then from November till December, we pop back up to, I think we go back to this level, this 118 to 114, and then what we do is we liquidate all the shorts right now. We go back up to the 120, and then once we hit the 115 to 120, we liquidate all the longs, and then we don't break this 123 to 125 because you never want to bet against a longer time frame, right? It's like cutting against the grain. Like, you know, you have meat, and you always want to cut against the grain to get a softer piece of meat. You never want to cut, meaning you never want to be bullish on shorter time frames if your longer time frames are bearish. You usually just have dead cat bounces and then rejection from the moving average. Now, the only thing keeping us alive is, once again, we haven't broken the 11-day moving average on the monthly time frame, which shows us we might not break that yet. So that's why I go back here, and to give us more of a confluence, you could see back to the moving, then down, then potentially another run up, but maybe a lower high thereafter. I'll leave you with some visuals. Yeah, if anyone's watching this video and they're interested in doing a group, I don't know, maybe like a group me, or something like that, where I'll go over charts, people could ask questions, you write notes. Let me know if you're interested in something like that. Doing one-on-ones is so difficult because time is worth so much. It's like, what do I charge for an hour of my life? I don't even know. And not be an a-hole about it. So once again, right now, measured move, I think we go back here, though, 3%. Then we need to see what happens thereafter. And then what I'm looking for is confluencing that up, excuse me, with bullish divergence, inverse head and shoulder, inverted head and shoulders, stuff like that. So you can see here price happening here. You're about to have your golden cross. You're getting higher lows, higher highs. What I'm looking for is I want to see the RSI break above and use this as support. That shows me that there's room to grow. Unfortunately, you're in section B, so you have to assume, yes, there's room to grow, but unfortunately, you must take profit at the moving averages during a downtrend. As you could see, example A, you had your 4% pump, then you'd want to see a higher low continuation. You'd want to see your RSI break above the 50, your stochastic break above the 50 like it is now. This looks good. This looks good. Everything looks good to go back. And then most traders will use 6 levels. I like to use just 3 because I'm better than most. So 106, 191, and then I would keep right there, 106, 149, 107, 349, a lower high technically to this one right here, the 110, 330, and a lower high to the 115, a lower high to this one, lower high, lower high. Now, cuzzies, let's be realistic. Eventually this breaks out. Once again, this does this, 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 and we pop here. This level right here is key. Is absolutely huge. Not in my opinion. Delete everything. Go to the monthly time frame, and you could clear as day see. There's resistance at 116.3. There is resistance, right? So do we come back up and see resistance once again? If we do, then that fuels the monthly to continue going down. That fuels the 2-month to continue going down. And then once again, I said it in my last video, this looks like a rounding top. Unfortunately, this is a monthly time frame, so this was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm calling something 3 to 5 months in advance, but unfortunately, you can do that because when you see patterns just again and again and again and again, like falling wedges break down and yada yada. So this looks like a rounding. It looks like a rounding top, and eventually, we would settle around this 80 to 77,000. And we just got to break the neckline. The neckline is this level right here, 92 to like 98,000. Someone requested Gala. I just remembered. Let's do Gala real quick. So number one, coin is down 97 to 98%. Not financial advice. And I was telling like literally 30 people this over the past 2 weeks because everyone contacts me when poo-poo hits the fan. What should I do, Joe? You should learn technical analysis and look at a chart because if I die tomorrow, what do you do, bro? That's like the main question. That's why I'm teaching you this. Think of it like a language, right? A tribe is dying and you're trying to learn the language before the last person dies, and then how do you learn the language if the last person dies? So we're here. We're extremely oversold. As you could see, there are major levels that that if we were to break back into this trend, there's a ton of room to grow. The asset's down 90 something percent. Once again, not financial advice, but I like to buy things when they're low. Anything, whether it's a house, a Rolex, wood, gold, anything. I want it cheaper because then there's room for the asset to grow and then make money. So as of right now, if you don't own, see, here's the thing, to like for me to give you advice, I don't know your situation, right? I'm going to give you what I would do. I don't own any Gala, so for me, I'm looking to dollar cost average and take profit where I think there's resistance. Do you own Gala and you're trying to take profit? Like where did you buy? How long you looking to hold? Financial advisor questions. Right now, I can only give you what I think is happening. The only thing I think is happening is we're extremely oversold. There's major liquidity from the point 0.012 to 0.016 level, and then I would keep some shekels on the side because what I would like to keep right here. Boom. Like this is what you're looking at. If you're looking to buy here, you're looking at 28 to 50%. You probably see some sell orders at these levels, right? Because unfortunately, you got to think of like psychology, and I took it for many years. I've been hearing about Gala for years, bro, right? And every time it goes up, it's like, I told you so news. And then it goes down, and then I'm like, yeah, I told you so because of chart. And then people like, it goes up, and it's like, I told you so, the news, it's games, and it's life changing. I'm like, yeah, but it saw resistance, or it saw resistance in the past. And it's like, I told you so, Joe, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, yeah, I told you so, rejection. And, once again, indicators on weekly time frames in section B, right? Death cross in section B. I could have told you that was coming. Your RSI not using the 50 as resistance. That's rejections to the downside. I bet you if I turn the moving averages on, it's been using the moving averages as resistance. Wow, look at that, right? Look at that. 1, 2, 3, rejection, rejection, rejection. So as of right now, yeah, you're going to have a dead cat bounce. Where back to? If your indicators are in poo-poo land, back to the moving averages. So once again, we could come back to this level of the 0.012 to 0.013, use it as resistance because it was support here, right? What was support will be used as resistance in a downtrend. And then I'd like to see if we do something like this, do something like this, do something like this, do something like this. And as the chart remains to go sideways, you're starting to see bullish structure on your stochastic. Does it break above the 20 and break above the 50? Is your RSI finally going to break above the 50? Once again, once we broke above the 50, you could see we went from 0.017 to 0.013, regardless of the price. It went up 123%, right? Golden crosses above, below, yeah, you're going to have a pump. You're going to go back to your moving average, back to your moving average. We want RSI above the 50. Look at RSI above the 50. Boom. Right here, 145%. So can you expect a dead cat bounce right now? Of course, the asset is extremely beaten to death. But once again, if you do it, well, if you are up 19 to 20 or 30% back to these moving averages and back to the bottom of these wicks right here, that's probably where you're going to see rejection. Don't expect that this is a buy and hold, because if we do break down, we could break these 0.009 right here. But once again, a ton of meat to grow. Oh, I just deleted all my shit. Ton of room to grow back to, even these levels here. This would be like my greed level, bro. Like I would be, dollar cost averaging every once in a while, but I want to see it break this level here, the 0.012, because that means you have room to grow, extreme room to grow. Back here, 61%, 0.017. Do here, 107%, back at the 0.023. Boom, here, 200%, 0.033, and then max it out at 300%. And if someone says it's not possible, we'll show them this, 243%, show them this, 533%, show them this 371, and then you could say, well, you can suck a big one if it does 313. It's nothing's proven yet, but if I was a wise man, I would let this chart play out on the daily, right? Because you want to see some type of bullish structure, bro. I want to see it above the 50, hidden bullish, right? I want to see bullish. Come on, man. I want to see bullish market structure on the 2-day, and that's when you would open up a long with like a 2, 3, 4x. Make sure your liquidation price is all the way down here. And if you have something that has a 2, 3x and it does a 300% return, do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe. That's really the video. Let me see. Yeah, 25 minutes. That's it. Love you guys. Any comments, questions, concerns, leave it in the comment section. Once again, on X, it's the iChart Daily. Unfortunately, someone thought of iChart Daily before me. We got to get him. We got to talk to this guy. Once again, shout out to Allcoin Buzz for picking up your guy. I definitely see the subscribers and the numbers and the comments rising in the right direction. So, love you guys. Appreciate the support. And once again, let me know in the comments section if you're interested in doing like a group meeting or something like that. My only concern with that is just so many people all over the world in different time frames, and it has to work with my time frame. I'm from New York, so love you guys. If you appreciate this content, you're really looking to learn more, like, comment, subscribe, turn on the notification bell. I'm going to try and make more videos for you guys so you can learn. Because once again, everything I said in this video about liquidation zones, MACD, Section A, Section B, what is it doing? Is it getting rejected? Moving averages? It doesn't matter the ticker. It's the same process over and over and over and over and over again. That's why I've been doing it for so long. I could literally do it so fast with my eyes closed. Enjoy the day. Love you.